my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Wednesday video where I answer your questions. So each week, people ask me a bunch of questions, and each week I do my best to answer them. We got some really great questions this week. I got a ton of stuff to show, so stay tuned. Let's get right into it. First question comes from AG, or Aubrey. I know that you're close to getting all of the SOTI books. I'm 3 away. Or actually, sorry, 2 away from getting all the SOTI books. So 2 away out of 155. So pretty big collection. I'd love to one day see a show dedicated to showing them all and the history behind them. Okay, well, that's coming. Just 2 books away. 2 books away, and I'll do a big collection. In lieu of that, could you show us some of the biggest books from the list as well? And then could you share some of the ghost books that were extremely hard or lucky to find, and any stories on how those got, how you got those hard to find books? Okay, so actually, in a way, I was kind of curious about this question. Like, this is one of those things, like, I like to do this sometimes just for fun, is I ask, AI, what are the hardest SOTI books to find? And they actually came up with a list. And I don't necessarily agree with their list. And I'm going to show you the ones that I think are more of the challenging ones to pick up. But I'll get into their list, and then I'll tell you my list. So they said Phantom Lady 16, which is actually a pretty easy book to find. I see it all the time. It comes up. It's like once a year you can pick it up probably. And then Haunt of Fear 19 is another one that I think you can pick up pretty easily. That's the one with the double decapitation. I showed it recently. Any of the EC books are usually pretty easy to find. Dollman 38, they said. I'll show you Dollman 38. I've shown the other 2 recently. That's why I'm not showing them. But here's Dollman 38. It's actually the first appearance of Doll Girl as well. So kind of a double key. SOTI book and first Doll Girl. So, and it's a bunch cover, which is kind of fun. So yeah, so Dollman 38. Another one that they said was Crimes by Women. Now there's actually 2 Crimes by Women that are in SOTI, but I'll show you this one because I showed the other one just recently. This is Crimes by Women. And the other one that they said is Eerie Adventures #1. It's a great chess one with her playing against death, I would guess. So, yeah. Okay, so those are the ones that the AI said were the hardest ones to get. I don't necessarily agree. Those ones, you see them reasonably often. The ones that I would say are the ones I'm about to show are just really hard to find. I've shown, if you watched my last unboxing series, I actually showed, where is it? Did I bring it? I showed a book. Oh, it's over there. Which was really hard to get. It was my third last one to get. That one, and I showed 10 of the biggest books within the SOTI collection in terms of price. So if you watch my finale of the previous unboxing, you can see that list. But I wanted to show you ones that are more of a challenge to get, that just you don't see that often, and just ones I've only seen once, maybe ever, listed. So based on that, I'm saying that they're rare. And I'll get into that. So the first one is this one. I've seen this twice, actually. I'll tell you about it a little bit. The first time I saw it, it was a coverless copy. So like, I'm not sure if that counts, but I bought it just because I wanted to have that, that spot filled in my collection. It was cheap because it was coverless. I managed to find a covered copy. It's not in great condition, but this one seems to be really hard to find. I don't know why. I've only seen it twice, and once was a coverless copy. And this is Mr. Risk #2. Okay, so that's for this one. I've seen it only once or twice, and it's Cupies. And it was in the, so I always think this one's one of the more interesting ones that was in the Seduction of the Innocent, because it is such an innocent book. It's like cute, you know, it's literally cupies. And basically Wortham asked like a little girl, what's the name of this book that she was reading, and she was like corpses, because she didn't know how to pronounce that, right? So Wortham was like, oh, even what seems to be an innocent book can corrupt young minds. So it's like, oh my goodness, how can you get that interpretation? But so yeah, so that's cupies. That's actually a hard one to get. Now this one, I don't know if this next one is really hard to get or not. It seems to be one where it commands big money whenever it comes up, and but I've seen it a few times, and it's Teenage Dope Slaves. Always goes for crazy money, um, because it's a drug issue, and drugs were one of the things that really got cracked down on with the Comic Code. So the fact that it's even called Teenage Dope Slaves, and it has like, you know, him fighting for drugs to get drugs on the cover. You know, this one was very controversial, and therefore very desired. So that's but I managed to find it on my comic shop. It was not a cheap book, but it's one that I'm able to find, and I've seen it, you know, in auction a few times. So it's one that is said that it's rare, but I don't know. I've seen it a bunch of times. Ones that I'm not sure if these would be considered ghosts or rare or what, but they are definitely under the radar. Um, are these kind of like these ones that would come in the bread? Like these would come in like loaves of bread. They would have like a little mini comic, and so these are 3 different ones. These were mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent. So this is the Mad Barber. Was mentioned as, and the Hopalong Cassidy was mentioned as well. I don't know if the middle one, or if it was the middle one or the top one, but you can see where it has the bread ad right there. So, but these were mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent. Well, and they're sometimes hard to find, actually, especially the Mad Barber one, which is definitely in the Seduction of the Innocent. It's a little bit harder to find that bread, like mini comic. This next one is another one. I've only seen it once or twice. And this is True Crime cases, or comics, I should say. I forget what number it is. I think it's number 1. But it's just kind of like this. Reasonably hard to find. This next one is a ghost. Really hard to find. I've seen it maybe twice. And this is Christmas Comics. Actually, a really cool book. This is from Fawcett. It would, even though it's Christmas Comics, it would actually reprint a bunch of stuff. And one of the books that it reprinted or collected was one of the stories that was mentioned in Seduction of the Innocent. So this is on the list of the Seduction of the Innocent because it has the story that was mentioned from the Seduction of the Innocent. But it's a hard one to get. It has like this felt too, which is kind of cool. Like on where all the red is, even on the Christmas, you can see a little bit of the felt was removed there. But yeah, it's got a felt cover, which is really interesting. Definitely a hard one to find. It's issue number 6 that you need if you were looking for it. Now this next one, this is the only time I've only seen this book once. It's a harder book to find. And this one is in rough shape, but it was the only one I could find. And it's Almanac of Crime. Really hard book to find. I kept on searching for this. For some reason, whenever you search this, other books will come up, but this is the one that you want if you want to get the SOTI book. So, really hard one to find. It's quite thick. You can see that because it was a square bound book, it didn't do so well. But yeah, Almanac of Crime, hard one to find. This one, I've actually seen it a couple of times, but usually for some reason it's always the Canadian version that I see. This is the US version. This is True Crime Cases. Another book. And this one, I don't know if it's that hard to find. I've seen it a few times, but I just figured I'd grab it. This is a Matt Baker cover, Crime Reporter #1. It's kind of a cool one because, like, the bullet, you can actually follow the bullet line and it goes right through her hand. It's kind of crazy. Great Matt Baker cover, you know, and one that was mentioned in Seduction Innocent. Now, this next one was a challenging one to find. Really rare, and it's one where often when you find it, it's not the right one, and I'll explain that. So it's True Crime Cases #1. Often when you find this, you'll find the reprint, which will have a white sign here, and it'll look slightly different. The one you want is the Fox Features Syndicate one, and it has to look like this. It's a Wally Wood cover as well, which is kind of interesting. Harder book to find. Usually you get the reprint when you find it. And last one that's really hard to find is True Crime Comics. This one was mentioned because of injury to eye. It's got drug use, bondage, and it's kind of crazy. It's just a cool book. Yeah, very hard book to find. So I've only seen this maybe once or twice. I think I've seen it twice. So not common. Very rare book. A lot of these will have census counts of less than 10. So just to give you a sense of how rare they are. And they're not cheap either. It's not that they're low census because they're, plentiful and cheap books. They're low census because they're really hard to find. So those are some of my SOTI books. I figured I'd give you a good sample of them, especially the harder ones to find. There's a lot of SOTI books that are actually really easy to find and actually very affordable. So these are the more challenging ones to get. Okay, next question comes from How's It Boy. How about showing some of your favorite #1 issues from the Golden Age? Maybe like a top 10. Okay, so what I did is that it's not my top 10 because my top 10 would be like Wonder Woman 1, Sensation 1 in there. And I kind of show those too often. I kind of feel like, oh, I've showed those way too many times. So I'm going to show you my sort of #1 issue. But they are kind of some of my favorite books, so they're kind of in that range of being in maybe top 30, I would say. My top 30 #1 issues from Golden Age. These books are literally issue #1. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So we go with War Fury #1. So these are the first issue of the series. I could have picked other books that were like the first issue, but not technically the first issue, like No Numbers series, or ones where it was like #1, but like with a different numbering system, where it's like, sometimes they would continue a series and it would still be #1, but it's actually like 23rd or something. Like, I don't know, the way that they number things in the Golden Age was kind of weird. But War Fury #1, classic cover. This is just such a cool cover. Bernard Bailey cover. You got the guy shot in the head. This one was later used for Horrific #3. Just a classic cover. Don Heck. What am I saying? Bernard Bailey. Don Heck cover. From 1952. So yeah. So just a really cool one. That's War Fury #1. Another #1 that's really great. Catman #1. I really like Catman. I like collecting it. So yeah. Just a really cool series, and this is the first of the series. So I like getting my first issues. So this is Catman #1. Hopefully I have enough in there. This one is a recent pickup, but it's one that I really was excited to get. I didn't think I was going to get it. And strangely, I think the prices has actually dropped on this book, which is kind of sad because it's such a cool book. But it is Frankenstein #1. I think it's a really, really cool book. Dick Briefer's story. I really enjoyed reading this one, and I've been trying to get the complete run. I got 1 through 10 right now, I think, and some of the like mixture of the later issues as well. I think I'm only missing like 6 or so. But yeah, just a really great series. So Frankenstein Comics #1. Yeah. It's not the first appearance of Frankenstein, but it is a cool book. Okay. Oh, I'm running out of space here. 1 second. I gotta move things around here. Gonna put these down. There we go. And this one, I was super excited to get this in my collection. So this is like one of my favorite Golden Age comics of all. I just really love this one because it's the first appearance of Plastic Man. This is my Police Comics #1. Love this book. Just really great book. Also the first appearance of Phantom Lady, which is an extra bonus for me because another character that I really like. Yeah, Police Comics #1. Really cool book. First Plastic Man. And then we have... Okay. Now this one, I just really love this cover. It's not like necessarily a key or anything, but it is just a cool book. It's another #1. It's Flash Comics, All Flash Comics Quarterly #1. I always thought this was a cool cover. I just really like the cover. And I like seeing Golden Age Flash. I just think he's cool with his like very simple costume with the, you know, the wings on his helmet and stuff. I just think it's really cool. It's low grade, it's a 0.5, but it is a cool book. And Origin of the Flash Retold. And 1 second, let's see if I can read this. First solo Flash title. And Gardner Fox and E. Hibbard. And it's E. Hibbard cover. It's a kind of a cool one. And this was like, I'm really into pre-code horror. So this book kind of being the #1 and kind of the first pre-code horror book. I love it. So this is Eerie Comics #1. And it's like such a major book for pre-code horror because it kind of started the whole pre-code horror trend. It's the very first horror title and book devoted to horror. So there's earlier books that are like, there's a classic comics with Frankenstein. It's actually a pre-code horror book as well, because it's a full story about Frankenstein, which is a horror story. But this one is the first one where it was meant to be a horror title, if that makes sense. So Eerie Comics #1. Another one that I really, really like is a Green Hornet #1. Another series that I think is really cool. I like the fact that you got both the Green Hornet and Kato on the cover. Just a really cool book. And you know, kind of their first appearances as well. And then we got Sun Girl #1. And why I really like this book is it's signed by Ken Bald, who is the creator and the artist for Sun Girl. So I just think that's cool. I just love having these created signatures, and you know, it's a verified signature. He actually he lived fairly long. He was fairly old when he died, and this was one of the last things that he signed. So kind of cool book. Really like this one, and it's the first appearance of Sun Girl as well. So we got 2 more to go, or yeah, 2 more. Okay, this one is Daredevil Battles Hitler, or Daredevil #1. Just another cool book. I like these Hitler covers. I think they're really wacky. I like this one especially because it reminds me of Monty Python. Every time I see it, I think Monty Python. Very beginning, when they run their credits, they always have like those little animated photos, and this reminds me of that. So I just think it's really cool. This is Daredevil Battles Hitler #1. You got the Yellow Claw there too. Awesome book. Okay, and Number one on my list, which is also a number one, is Little Dot number one. This is the first appearance of Richie Rich. I grew up reading Richie Rich, so this is like important to me because it's such a cool first appearance. So it's the first appearance of Little Lotta and Richie Rich. So very cool book, and it presents really well. Actually, even though it's a 2.5, presents really well. I'm really happy with it. So great book. I'll show you the back too. Okay, so those are my top 10 today. If you ask me some other day, I'll show you a different top 10. I don't know. I'm like that. I'm like, okay, these are the ones that I can think of for today. And then you'll ask me, oh, maybe that one. I put that one. I have sort of different tastes for each day. So, but for the most part, these would be my top 10. Number one issues. So, yeah. Okay. Next question comes from G Majors. Any thoughts on showcase number 4? Is it a good investment or a bad investment? Okay, so here's showcase number 4. Okay, I have it in a 2.0, which is a kind of a low grade, but cool book. First Silver Age appearance of the Flash, different character than the Golden Age Flash. So first Barry Allen, very cool character, and yeah, just a great book. Great book. Everybody loves this book that is a DC collector. This is a great book. This book really started the Silver Age because it's where they sort of changed the very concept of how stories were going to be told in comics. You get like this full length story. You have like just a retelling and a reimagining of the way characters work, which is kind of fun. So, great book, classic book, early Silver Age. Well, it's like literally 1956, which is like the Silver Age started in 55 technically, but this is the book that is considered to be the beginning for DC of the Silver Age. So major book, has huge significance in terms of history, in terms of collecting, everything. Problem is, this is one of those books where the market hasn't necessarily been that good to it. I'll go into the numbers though a little bit with you. Okay, so the numbers on the census, there's 648 of these on the census, which if you think about it for a Silver Age book is a pretty low census. To contrast that, Amazing Fantasy 15, which is a much bigger book, has over 4,000 copies on the census. So this is like almost a 10th or 8th of the census count. So, much smaller census. There are 469 of them that are universal blue labels. Now, a 9.6, which is the highest grade, is like $1 million book. Just barely under $1 million, actually. The most recent sale for 9.6 was $900,000 back in January of 2024. So, very valuable book in that super high grade. And that book has actually appreciated quite significantly over the last few years. In 2009, 9.6 sold for around $180,000. So, it's gone up quite significantly, like 5 times in that time period. So, did really well, for that high grade. Now, that's the high grade. Now, if we look at sort of like a typical grade, which is like a 4.0 copy, in 2022, when it sort of hit the peak value, which was its record, was 22,000. That was when it kind of went crazy during COVID, and there was also the Flash movie coming out. There was a lot of hype. Well, the book really jumped during that time period and went up to 22,000. Now, prior to COVID, prior to all that hype, it was an $18,500 book. Okay, that's what it sold for in 2018. Now, this book has really dropped. So the movie was not well received, even though it's a great movie. Actually, I actually really enjoyed the Flash movie. definitely a good movie, definitely underrated. I feel like, yeah, it's one of those movies that is underappreciated, but it didn't get well received, and because of that, the value actually dropped. So if you look at the value of this book, it's now selling for around 12 to 13,000. The most recent sale was 12,600 in October of 2025. So it's sort of, if you look at it prior to 2014, which is, I know, going back 11 years, it was selling for around 6,700. So the overall trend line is actually consistently going up. It's actually doubled in that time period. But I feel like there's a lot of correction that's happening from that peak that was achieved during COVID. This is one of those books that really, really went crazy during COVID. If you look at the, the trend line, it's like, whoop, it's a really high trend line. Now, it also went very high up before COVID. Like, as I said, it was like 18,000 prior to COVID. So I think this book is a little bit undervalued right now. I think it's a good time to pick it up. It's got a reasonably low census count. It's, I would say, undervalued based on the prior COVID sales, prior to COVID sales. And I think this book, you can probably pick it up for that, I would say, $10,000 to $15,000 range in a 4.0. Okay, like other grades obviously are going to be different prices, but that'll give you a sense of where it would be. A good way to kind of do a ballpark, if you want to kind of figure out what it is per grade, I would say like two to 3,000 per point, like would be a sort of an approximate range of how much you should spend on this book. So a 1.0 would be probably around 3,000. 2.0 would be probably, wait, am I doing the math wrong? It seems a little bit low. No, 3 to 4,000. Sorry, I was like way off on that. So a 1.0 would be probably 4,000. 2.0 would probably be around 8,000. And then a 4.0 would be around that 13 to 15,000, like 12 to 15,000. So if you're kind of like 3 to 4,000 per point is a good way to look at this book. What you want to do is try to get it under 3, and then you're that you're a little bit ahead of the game. I don't know if this book has more room to fall. So right now it is pretty low historically. So I think long term though, great investment. Right now, it's a bit of a weak book. But there's no reason for that. It's a great book. It has like a lot of great stuff going for it, and I think it has potential to go up a lot in the future. Probably, a safe investment. Okay, so that's that one. Now we got actually another kind of similar question. Mike Swintel wrote, "Do you believe that Supergirl #1 from 1972, which is the #1 best long-term investment for younger collectors?" He's asking, do you believe it's the best long-term investment for younger collectors? I tell people to look at Batman, Wonder Woman #1, Batman #1, Superman #1. The prices have prices, and none of these have their first appearance. So yes, Wonder Woman 1, Superman 1, and Batman 1 don't have their first appearance of the characters. But each of those have a bunch of things going for them. They're Golden Age books. They are books that are, like Batman 1 has the first appearance of a bunch of characters. Now, Superman 1, I think, is overrated, personally. Which just sounds bad because it just had like the biggest sale in comic history. But I feel like it's overrated because it's reprints. It's a reprint book. And Wonder Woman 1 is a cool book. It kind of retells her origin. So I actually feel like those two are better than Superman 1. But Supergirl 1, which is this book, I have it in 8.0. I don't have a great copy, but I got it cheap. So I'm like, I'm happy to have it. Supergirl 1, which is her first titled comic. Kind of a cool book. Um, Now, that book doesn't have the potential, okay, that the other books do, because its census is 10 times those other ones. So there's 708 copies of that on the census. Probably a lot are ungraded, actually. Um, it's a Bronze Age book, going to be more common. Um, so is it a great investment? I wouldn't say a great investment, not a bad investment, but now is not the time to buy this book. If you look at the 9.8, last sale was $1,500. Now, somebody just before that paid $2,100 for a 9.8, which is a crazy spread on the same book. I think people kind of got hyped up because of the Supergirl being in the Superman movie. There's going to be a Supergirl movie coming out. And I think right now the book is hot when and that's always a bad time to be buying it. So right now, bad time to be buying it, good time to be selling it. If you're going to sell a book, this is the time to sell a 9.8 copy. Now, other grades, actually not so much. Like this book, before all this hype, by the way, was selling for four to $800 in a 9.8. So anywhere from 400 on the low to $800 on the high. And that was like only 3 years ago. So it's gone up a lot recently, but that's because of the hype. Now, if you look at my 8.0 copy, you can pick that up for around $145 is what somebody paid in 2016. I think I paid less than that personally. Now it goes for $157 to $95 kind of range. It's all over the place. These books do have a lower census count, so they are a little bit more, more volatile in terms of pricing. But I would say if you're going to buy this book, get it in a 9.4 or higher, because that's more than investment grade. The lower grade copies, they seem to be a bit more plentiful. And I think it's a little bit of a risky book to get in the lower grade. So 8.0, I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend buying my copy, for example. But I wouldn't buy it until 6 months after the movie has come out. If the movie does really, really well, still, 6 months later, it will still go down. People kind of lose interest and the prices get reflected in that. So right now is not the time to buy. There's too much hype around this book. And because of that, you're going to be paying up once that hype kind of fades, then the prices will correct. And it usually takes about 6 months for those prices to correct. So be aware of that. Okay, so I figured I'd get into that for you guys. Okay, next question is from CJ Comics and Stories. And he wrote, do you collect any classic comics or classic illustrated? Would you only go for the originals? Yes, I mainly go for the originals. I go for the first printings, and I do have a bunch. A lot of them were mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent, and that's why I picked them up. So I'll show you the ones I have. I have Tom Sawyer, which is Classics Illustrated. This is the first printing. You actually have to look up whether, what qualifies as the first print. Usually you'll see like that 10 cent will be like 12 cent or 15 cent. It'll be like a different number. That's usually a later printing. Also, sometimes you can open up the book and it'll show what other books are coming out. So this is issue number 50. Well, if it already shows like 53 or some other issues that technically shouldn't have come out yet, then because it always has like the back issues you can pick up, then you know that you're getting a reprint. Okay, but I generally go for the first printings. Then I have Great Expectations, number 43. These are all mentioned in Seduction and Innocent, so that's why I have them. I like Great Expectations, great story. And then we got Mysteries of Paris, which is number 44. This is also Classics Illustrated. And then we have number 68, which is Julius Caesar. And these were great. I mean, they have like really cool stories. You know, if you like history, these are great books. Or classic like novels, these are great books for those too. Then we got Classic Comics, number 10, which is another, these are all SOTI books, so, which is another cool one with the story of Robinson Crusoe. And then we have Uncle Tom's Cabin, which is another Classics Illustrated, or Classic Comics, I should say, number 15. And then we have Classics Illustrated number 55, which is Salus Minor. Or Marner. Yeah, and then I'll show you what later printing of that looks like. Here's the later printing. I just thought it was a cool cover, so I picked it up. And it's also a SOTI book, so this is the reprint. You can see the price is different. Sometimes they'll do different covers as well in the later printings. Just thought it was a cool one. And the last one is another Classic Comics. Another one that was mentioned in SOTI is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's another cool book. So those are some. I also have the very first horror book, which is Frankenstein one, which is another Classic Comics. So, you know, I do like them to a certain extent. I really want to get the very first Classics Illustrated and also want to get the first Classic Comics. But I've seemed to have no luck winning on bids on those ones. So I've been trying, but never seem to win. So I'm going for those issue number ones. I believe it's the Three Musketeers is the title. Okay, next one is Heavy D. Brown wrote, with your vast collection of comics, do you ever consider trading or selling a portion to pick up a huge comic like Batman 1, Detective 27, or art? Which would you sell first? If I was going to sell any or trade any, what I would do is get rid of all my duplicates. That'd be the first thing. But also maybe some of my modern stuff, like just maybe a whole long box or a few long boxes of modern stuff that I'm not as keen about. That would be probably where I'd go. If anyone would accept that for a Batman 1, it'd be really funny, but I don't think they would. Generally, most people that want Batman 1s, they want you to trade other big books to go for it. I probably wouldn't want to trade my books. You know, having a Batman 1 is like a cool thing, and I hope to someday achieve that goal. But I don't want to give up other cool books that took me a while to achieve. So generally, if you're going to get a big book like that, they probably want you to trade anywhere from 10 to 20 books. Like but they would have to be pretty big books. So Batman 1 is about 50,000. So you'd have to trade like 10 like $5,000 books or more. Like they'd have to be worth actually more than that. So probably $25,000 books just because, you know, they never give you the full trade value. So with that being said, like, do I really want to give up that many big books out of my collection? Probably not. And especially Detective 27 would be like double that, right? It'd be twice as expensive. So I'm you know, I want to save up my money and maybe get them that way. I don't really like trading. I'm not a big trader unless I'm trading books that I have doubles of. So that's why. Yeah, I don't know. I'm weird that way. I don't really want to lose any of my books. So yeah, that'd be the way I think about it. But probably the best, if you're a collector and you really want to get those big grails, it is best to trade. I just can't do it myself. But yeah, but each their own, right? Okay, next question comes from Mickey Gill. I have a question about eBay. Is it just me, or are eBay sellers charging 3 to 4 times the FMV for most books? I checked the value before making an offer. The people are asking exorbitant prices. Yeah, it's not you, it is eBay. The people on eBay are charging crazy prices. Now, when I do my market reports, I will often see new records, and it's a buy it now. Somebody somebody overpaid because that was the price that was listed. It was a buy it now, and people will overpay that way. And I think that's what these eBay sellers are relying on. That FOMO of some rare book coming up. They'll list it at 3 to 4 times what the market rate is, and if somebody's dumb enough to buy it for that that price, then they are like, "Oh, good for us." So I think that's what happens a lot. And with Golden Age especially, that can happen because these are one of ones. It's a hard book to find, and sometimes they can just list it for some crazy price. And if somebody is desperate enough to try to go after that book, then they pay that exorbitant price. Now, there's a few tricks to get around that. One is put in that fair market offer to them. Two is wait a few days. Watch it, wait a few days. Sometimes, and very often, I find you'll get like a best offer that's like 50% off, and they're like, "Oh, look, I'm giving you a deal." And sometimes there's even a counter offer within that best offer, that reduced offer. So I usually will counter back with FMV or slightly below FMV. Usually the reason I counter back with slightly below FMV is I know that they'll counter me, if that makes sense, where they'll go FMV, and usually I'll buy it for FMV. So yeah, those are the things that I've seen. But yeah, I think it's because a couple of things with that. People are charging 3 to 4 times because they have to make FMV on the sale. And a lot of the time, in order to do that, they need to cover the eBay fees, which can be about 15% with credit card and the eBay fees themselves. So yeah, to make that up, they will double or triple or quadruple the price, which is unrealistic, but sometimes works. So yeah, so be aware of that. Be aware that they do need that margin, but because they probably paid below FMV, and they probably want to get at least FMV for their book. So be aware of that. But yeah, some eBay sellers put crazy price. I've seen some where they just list a book, and it's totally out to lunch. They know that they're trying to create something that and make it look bigger than it really is, and you just have to be patient. Is what I tell people. Okay. Next question, last question actually. Archie comics are non-event in the UK. Are there still collectors of them in the US and Canada? Yes. Yeah, Archie comics do incredibly well in Canada and US. I consistently see them hitting new records. I just did a Silver Age market report on Monday, and one of the ones that did one of the best performing books was an Archie, like Archie's Madhouse. Did extremely well. I think people do like the Archie books, especially finding them in high grade. Like low grade copies, obviously, are more common. They were massively produced, but finding them in high grade is actually a bit of a challenge. So they do command big money in those higher grades, and people seem to be still chasing after them. So I think there is a big demand for Archie books. So yeah, if they're not so cool in the UK, that might actually be a good thing for you if you like Archie books, because sometimes like I've noticed this as well, like certain markets don't treat certain books like well, and you can actually get deals on them because the local market is not strong for those books. So if you can pick up Archie books for cheap, then do it. Just because they're not liked in your local market doesn't mean that they're not liked elsewhere, and they are liked. It's sort of like, I would say, like an equivalent, kind of the reverse way is like Tintin or Asterix. Those are big books in Europe. Here, not so much. In Quebec, actually, they're kind of popular, but but the rest of North America, not so much. And you can pick those up really cheaply. So it can be working the opposite way too. Yeah, that's it for this week. If anyone else has any questions you want answered, put them in the comments below. And I appreciate everyone watching this video. Thanks for now.